There's so little money in really any kind of original creative writing. Believe me, I know this too. But related to that, I found it interesting. You both sort of suggested that you did smaller original projects as calling cards to earn the privilege to work on larger franchises. Which is kind of a funny reverse of how it generally works in games. The dream is to sort of establish yourself successfully by paying your dues on major franchises so that you can eventually go on to make money doing your own stuff. Is that an ambition that exists in comics where, like, now you get to work on the franchises that you get to work on because you were creative originally? Do you want to go back to being, doing your own original stuff in a larger way?
I don't think either of us have ever stopped doing our own original stuff. That's the fundamental point. Kieron and I are both from the school that believes, the most creative thing you can do is to make new stuff, new original stuff. We've both, even while we've been writing stuff for Marvel, we've both always done that.
Yeah, the cynical career arc for a comic book writer, if you want to, the state of the art cynical comic book writer career is you do your own stuff, you then go and work on a big brand for a while to raise your profile, then you use that raised profile to then leverage your own, create your own stuff. And that is the official sort of route how people have tried to play it. Mm-hmm. And you can certainly look at some of the big comic book writers across the last decade, especially, I think, who have done that very successfully.
Grant Morrison, Warren Ellis, Garth Ennis, it's just...
Mark Millar,
Frank Miller. Comics is literally them, it is the business model. If you can parlay that, if you can take the audience with you from Superman or whatever to your own stuff, that's basically the way that you can have a long, successful career in comics, yeah. But I want to take issue with the notion that the tried and tested career path in games is that you slave away working in Call of Duty for 6 years or whatever, and then go and make your own game. That's true now. But when games was in its infancy, that wasn't the case. Yeah. And again, I think it all goes in cycles, because we are now seeing again people who have never made a game in their life are now making little indie games on XBLA or PC, or iOS games, or Android games, or Facebook games, and using that as calling cards to then go and get, a job at Valve or DICE.
Look, I think about when RPS started, and that's kind of really when the modern wave of indie games kicked off. The majority of the games I think I loved in that period were basically developers who were pissed off of working at EA, left and did their own thing. I mean, 2D Boy being my favourite case in point, just because it's a wonderful game. What a good, obviously. So I don't think I think because there's only one Ken Levine, Irrational's the thing. There's how many hundred people at his company, and you only know one name, and only one of those people really have the power to leverage their name into something else. It doesn't pay off. That's like this is the thing. It's like
it's not a great career plan.
Yeah, not comparatively to comics when not that any career path in comics makes any fucking sense. But there's more the fact that my name's on the cover of anything I do.
Which also makes us more protective of it.
Yes.
That's one thing. Going back, it does strike me we're kind of veering away from writing quite a bit. Just to go back to writing a minute, one of the main differences between writing comics and writing games, as Kieron said earlier, is about power and control. You don't have a lot of control when you're writing a game. You have to be willing to compromise. You have to be willing to accept changes that other people make that you simply have no influence over. This has changed, we've lost this character completely. Do I get any say in this? No, you don't, because you're not the designer, you're not a producer. However, because my name isn't on the cover, because my name is not on the front of Dead Space or whatever game, it's not that you don't care as much, but you are more willing to collaborate.
It's the only magazine I never cared about my writing was Edge. It's like
because they don't do bylines.
It's like they can change my mark as much as they want.
Right. Exactly. But when your name, your brand is printed there on the front of the thing that people buy, you care a lot more, and you have the right to care a lot more. More to the point, you have much more leverage to turn around to a producer or editor, whoever, and say, actually, no, fuck you. If my name's going on the front, we're doing it my way. Which you don't have to do too often, but occasionally.
Before we move to the next question, it probably is worth stressing. It's not like I did my indie work to begin with, like my black and white photo zines to get a job at Marvel.
Oh God,
No, I did it because you do it because you love the medium. It was solely, I mean, when I was working on PC Gamer and all that, I was standing on street corners giving out flyers, and this was just something I loved doing, and that's the point of doing it.
There are some people who do that, but yeah, but as I said, both Kieron and I come from a school where the ultimate aim is actually to make your own stuff, and we both do the mainstream work for hire stuff because it's fun, but also because it helps us build an audience. It pays quite well, you know. Not that we don't give it 100% and do the best work we can, but I think I've certainly publicly acknowledged, I don't want to speak to Kieron, but I have certainly said many times in public that it is not my ultimate aim to write Superman or whatever. I don't care. I will do it if they ask me, but I'm not, you know, it's not my ultimate ambition. It's not why I got into comics.
When you're doing a writing character you do not really own, you have to make emotional contraceptives, is the way I describe it, as the needs not ours. If I wanted the company to change their mind and make Spider-Man, I don't know, a 24 arachnid next month, and that decision, this isn't your character, you do, this is not yours, therefore you learn the mental stuff to roll with it. You can quit, as in, I don't know that story, but you don't take it personally. This is a job, this is their characters, and you are looking after them. At the same time, in the work stuff, pretty much you pay me by my soul. It's like I don't think about any character I don't own until they tell me to write it. At which point then they've got a major part of my life.
Sure.
My wife hates me as I wander around the house pretending to be Dr. Doom or whatever. That kind of
Fetch Doom, that woman.
That be able to contain multiple parts of you for me is a part of being a working writer.
Oh, you can't compartmentalise in your brain, absolutely. But I think that comes again from this whole thing of, especially comic writers working on multiple projects at once. Yeah. You get very good at saying, okay, this part of my brain is reserved for Spider-Man. This part of my brain is reserved for my little black and white indie comic. This part of my brain is reserved for Law and Order. You just compartmentalise everything.
A lot of comic writers go mad, don't they?
Flibble.
Next question.